The great hall floated in the darkness of space, far from any star. 12 species had built it together over 1,000 years ago. They called it the Hall of Voices, and here they decided the fate of entire worlds. Today, they would decide the fate of Earth. Ambassador Krell of the Vormik Empire stood at the center of the hall. His body was tall and thin, covered in gray scales that caught the light. His 4 eyes looked at each representative as he spoke. "The humans have developed nuclear weapons," he said. "They have sent machines to their neighboring planets. In 50 years, perhaps less, they will discover faster-than-light travel. We all know what happens then." The representatives shifted uncomfortably. They did know. A new species with weapons and ambition was dangerous. History had taught them this lesson many times. "They fight among themselves constantly," Krell continued. "They have wars over land, over resources, over ideas. Imagine what they will do when they find us. Imagine these creatures with access to our technology, our worlds, our people. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath Sol, Admiral Yuno watched the transmission with cold eyes. Human intelligence had intercepted alien communications 3 years ago. They had been listening ever since, learning, preparing. Fleet Commander Hana stood beside him, her arms crossed. She was younger than Yuno, but her eyes held the same hard look. "They really think we cannot hear them," she said quietly. "They think we are animals," Yuno replied. "That is their first mistake." In the Hall of Voices, the debate continued. Representative Mira of the Salvani spoke against the attack. Her species was old, older than any other in the council. They had seen many things. "You speak of what humans might do," she said, her voice like wind through leaves. "But you do not know. We have watched them for 200 years. Yes, they fight, but they also create. They love, they dream. Perhaps they deserve a chance." Krell made a sound of disgust. "A chance to what? To grow stronger? To threaten us? The Galactic Council exists to protect civilization. These humans are not civilized. They are barely evolved predators who learn to use tools." The vote came at midnight, Earth time. 11 species voted yes. Only the Salvani voted no. The decision was made. Earth would be pacified. The human species would be reduced to a manageable population and placed under permanent supervision. Those who resisted would be eliminated. Krell smiled as the votes were counted. "Send the fleet," he ordered. 3,000 ships should be enough. Give them one chance to surrender. If they refuse, begin the cleansing. Admiral Yuno turned off the transmission. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he reached for his communication device. "Contact Director Daewon at the lunar base," he said. "Authorization code 007. Tell him to wake Project Ember." Hannah looked at him with surprise. "Project Ember? I thought that was just a rumor. It was supposed to stay that way." Yunho's face was grim. "For 15 years, our best scientists have been preparing for this day. We knew they were watching us. We knew they would come eventually. We just did not know when." 3 days later, the sky above Earth filled with ships. They came out of nowhere, appearing in flashes of blue light. Each ship was massive, larger than anything humans had ever built. They blocked out the sun over every major city on the planet. People ran into the streets, looking up in terror and wonder. Some fell to their knees and prayed. Others simply stood frozen, unable to believe what they were seeing. Then the message came. It played on every television, every radio, every phone on Earth. It spoke in every human language, translated perfectly. "People of Earth, you have been judged by the Galactic Council of 12 species. Your civilization has been deemed a threat to galactic peace. You will surrender immediately. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your leaders will submit to our authority. If you comply, most of you will be allowed to live. If you resist, you will be eliminated. You have 1 hour to respond. The world erupted in chaos. Governments scrambled to respond. Military forces mobilized. People fled cities, clogging roads and airports. In Seoul, Yuno remained calm. He had known this moment would come. He had prepared for it his entire life. What do we do? Hannah asked. Her voice was steady, but he could see the fear in her eyes. 3,000 ships. We cannot fight that. Yunho looked at the screens showing alien vessels hovering over every continent. Then he looked at another screen, one showing data from the lunar base. We cannot fight them with what they expect, he said. But we have something they do not expect. Something they cannot imagine. He picked up the phone and called the president. The conversation was short. Sir, this is Admiral Yuno. Project Ember is ready. I am requesting authorization to deploy. There was a pause. Then the president's voice came through, heavy with the weight of the decision. You have authorization. God help us all. Yunho ended the call and turned to Hannah. Send a message to the alien fleet. What message? His eyes were like steel. Tell them no. Hannah stared at him for a moment. Then she nodded slowly and walked to the communication. Station. The message went out to every alien ship above. Earth. It was short and simple. This is Admiral Yunho of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We have received your demands. Our answer is no. We will not surrender our world. We will not submit to your authority. If you want Earth, you will have to take it. And we promise you this. It will cost you more than you can imagine. In the command ship above Seoul, Fleet Commander Torax of the Vormok received the message. He laughed, a harsh sound that filled the bridge. Brave words from a doomed species, he said. Begin the attack. Target their military installations first. Show them what happens to those who defy the Council. The weapons on 3,000 ships began to power up, glowing with deadly energy. But deep beneath the surface of the moon, in a facility that officially did not exist, Director Daewon pressed a button. Project Ember is live, he said quietly. May the universe forgive us for what we are about to do. And then everything changed. The alien weapons fired first. Beams of bright blue energy cut through the sky, striking military bases around the world. Buildings exploded. Soldiers died in an instant. The aliens had destroyed 47 civilizations before. They knew exactly how to break a planet's defenses, but they did not know about the facility. Hidden beneath the mountains of Korea. Dr. Minji had not seen sunlight in 3 years. She had lived in this underground laboratory, working on weapons that broke the laws of physics as humans understood them. When the aliens arrived, she was ready. She stood before a control panel covered with buttons and screens. Her hands were steady, even though her heart was racing. Behind her, her team watched in silence. Gravitational pulse cannon is charged, said her assistant, a young man named Kyung-soo, targeting the largest enemy vessel. Minji looked at the screen. It showed the alien command ship, a vessel so large it could hold a small city inside. The aliens thought it was invincible. They were wrong. Fire, Minji said. The weapon made no sound. There was no beam of light, no explosion. Instead, something invisible shot up from the earth and struck the alien ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to collapse. It folded in on itself, like paper being crushed by an invisible hand. Metal screamed. Engines exploded. In less than 10 seconds, the largest warship in the alien fleet became a ball of twisted metal and fire. The other alien ships stopped firing. Their commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. Nothing in their history had prepared them for this. On the ground, humans watched the burning wreckage fall from the sky like a dying star. For the first time since the aliens arrived, they felt something other than fear. They felt hope. Admiral Yuno spoke into his radio. All units, this is command. Begin Operation Thunder. Show them what humanity can do. Across the planet, hidden weapons came online. Missiles launched from submarines. Satellites that everyone thought were for communication revealed their true purpose. Secret bases in mountains and deserts and under the ocean opened their doors. The aliens had studied human weapons for years. They knew about nuclear bombs and tanks and fighter jets. They had prepared defenses against all of them. They had not prepared for this. Energy beams shot up from the earth, cutting through alien ships like hot knives through butter. Gravitational pulses crushed vessels that had conquered entire star systems. Weapons that humanity had never revealed to itself now revealed themselves to the galaxy. Fleet. Commander Torax screamed orders at his crew. Return fire. Destroy their weapon systems. How do they have this technology? They are supposed to be primitive. But his ships were falling too fast. In the first hour, humanity destroyed 300 alien vessels. By the end of the day, that number had grown to 800. The aliens began to land troops. If they could not win in space, they would win on the ground. Massive transport ships dropped millions of soldiers onto every continent. These were not weak creatures. They stood 8 feet tall, covered in armor that could stop any bullet. Their weapons could turn a human to ash in a heartbeat. They had never lost a ground war. Not once in 10,000 years. Sergeant Juno crouched behind a burned car in the streets of Bizin. His squad was down to 5 soldiers. They had been fighting for 3 days without sleep. Around them, the city burned. Contact ahead, whispered Private Yuri, pointing down the street. 20 of them. Maybe more. Jun-Ho looked. The alien soldiers moved in perfect formation, their weapons scanning for targets. They were heading toward a shelter where hundreds of civilians were hiding. We cannot let them reach that shelter, Juno said. Everyone ready? His soldiers nodded. They were exhausted, scared, and outnumbered. But they did not run. Junho pulled a device from his pocket. It was small, no bigger than his hand. Dr. Minji's team had made thousands of them in the weeks before the invasion. Wait for my signal, he said. The aliens came closer. 50 meters. 30 meters. 20. Now. Jun-Ho pressed the button. The device released an electromagnetic pulse that shut down every piece of alien technology within 100 meters. Their armor went dead. Their weapons stopped working. For a few precious seconds, they were helpless. 5 human soldiers rose from hiding and opened fire. The aliens were stronger than humans, faster than humans. But without their technology, they were just targets. Junho and his squad did not miss. When it was over, 20 alien bodies lay in the street. Junho walked among them, checking each one. He felt no joy, no satisfaction. Only a cold determination to protect his people. Sergeant, Yuri called out. More coming. A lot more. Jun-Ho looked up. In the distance, he could see alien troops pouring into the city. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Fall back to the shelter, he ordered. Tell the civilians to evacuate through the tunnels. We will hold them as long as we can. The battle for Earth continued. In every city, on every continent, humans fought with everything they had. They used weapons that scientists had been secretly developing for years. They used tactics that surprised enemies who had never faced true resistance. But most importantly, they refused to give up. On the 5th day of fighting, the alien commanders held an emergency meeting aboard their remaining flagship. We have lost half our fleet, one general reported. Ground forces are taking heavy casualties. The humans are fighting in ways we have never seen. They attack from sewers, from buildings, from underground. They do not follow any rules of war we understand. They are animals, another commander said. Animals backed into a corner. Animals do not build weapons that crush ships with gravity, the first general replied. We underestimated them badly. Fleet Commander Torax slammed his fist on the table. I do not care what they are. We have 3 million soldiers on that planet. Send more. We will bury them in bodies if we have to. But the soldiers on the ground were already sending their own messages back to the fleet. Messages filled with fear. They do not stop. We kill 10 and 20 more appear. They fight in darkness. They fight in fire. They scream as they charge at us. What are these creatures? On the 6th day, the alien fleet began to retreat. They did not call it a retreat. They called it a strategic withdrawal. But everyone knew the truth. Humanity had won the first battle. Admiral Yunho stood in the Sol Command Center, watching the alien ships pull back to the edge of the solar system. Beside him, Hannah allowed herself a small smile. They are running, she said. For now. Yunho's expression was grim. They will return. With more ships. More soldiers. We hurt them, but we did not destroy them. Then what do we do? Yunho looked at the stars on the screen. Stars that had seemed so far away just a week ago. We take the fight to them. Before they can recover. Before they can plan. We find them where they live, and we make sure they never threaten Earth again. The second phase of humanity's war was about to begin. The captured alien ship sat in a massive hangar beneath the Nevada desert. It was badly damaged, but its engines were intact. That was all that mattered. Dr. Minji walked around the vessel, her eyes wide with wonder. 2 weeks ago, humanity did not even know faster-than-light travel was possible. Now they had an actual working example in front of them. Can you figure out how it works? Admiral Yunho asked. Minji touched the smooth metal surface. It was warm, almost like it was alive. Give me 6 months. You have 3. She looked at him with disbelief. That is impossible. The aliens will return with a larger fleet. We need our own ships before that happens. Yunho's voice was hard. Make it possible. Minji wanted to argue. But she had seen what the aliens did to Bizen, to Tokyo, to New York. She had seen the bodies, the ruined cities, the crying children who would never see their parents again. I will do it in 2, she said. Across the world, humanity worked with a focus it had never shown before. Old enemies became allies. Countries that had threatened each other for decades now shared technology and resources. Scientists from every nation gathered to study captured alien equipment. Intelligence officer Sujin led the team working on alien communications. She was young, only 28, but she had a mind that could find patterns where others saw only chaos. Their encryption is based on a mathematical system we have never seen, she explained to the War Council. But mathematics is mathematics. Give me time, and I will break it. It took her 11 days. On the 12th day, she burst into Admiral Yunho's office with papers falling from her arms. I know everything, she said breathlessly. Their fleet positions, their supply routes, the location of every council homeworld. She paused, her face going pale. And something else. What? Sujin placed a document on his desk. It was a list of names, planets, dates. 19 other species, she said quietly. The Council has done this before. 19 times. They find young civilizations, vote to destroy them, and wipe them out. Every single time. Her voice cracked. We are not special to them. We are just the 20th name on a list. Yunho stared at the list for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see soldiers training, scientists working, construction crews building. Humanity was preparing for war. Those 19 species, he said. They had no warning, no time to prepare. They trusted the universe to be fair, and they died for it. Yes, we had warning. We had time. And now we have their technology, their secrets, and their fleet positions. Yuno turned around. His eyes were filled with cold fire. We will make sure there is never a 21st. 2 months later, the first human faster-than-light ship left Earth. Commander Taeyan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's flagship. It was not as large as alien vessels, but it was fast and deadly. Behind it flew 200 more ships, each one crewed by volunteers who knew they might never see home again. Set course for the Varus system, Taeyan ordered. That is where the Council meets. That is where this war will end. A navigator, a woman named Boyong, input the coordinates. Course laid in, sir. Estimated travel time, 4 days. 4 days. Taeyan smiled grimly. 4 days to cross a distance that would have taken our ancestors thousands of years. The universe has gotten smaller. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. Stars became lines of light and disappeared entirely. They were moving faster than anything human had ever moved before. Along the way, they found the slaves. The first encounter happened at a mining station on the edge of alien space. Taeyan expected to find enemy soldiers. Instead, he found creatures in chains. They were small, barely 4 feet tall, with large eyes and thin arms. They had been mining ore for the Vormak Empire for 300 years. They had forgotten what freedom felt like. When the human soldiers broke open their cages, the creatures fell to their knees and wept. "Who are you?" One of them asked in broken galactic common. "Why did you help us?" Marine Captain Dongwu knelt down to meet the creature's eyes. "We are humans. From Earth, and we are here to free everyone the Council has enslaved." The news spread faster than the human fleet could travel. Slave species across the galaxy heard about the strange new creatures who fought against the Council. Some did not believe it at first. The Council was too powerful. No one could challenge them. Then they saw the burning wreckage of Council ships. They saw their chains being broken. They saw humans standing beside them, offering weapons and hope. "Join us," Commander Taeyan broadcast to every slave world they encountered. "Fight with us." The Council ruled the galaxy through fear. We will show them what happens when the galaxy stops being afraid. Thousands answered the call. Then millions dot ships crewed by former slaves joined the human fleet. They were old ships, poorly armed, but their crews burned with generations of anger. They wanted revenge, and humanity gave them the chance. Admiral Yuno watched the reports from Earth with growing amazement. Taeyan is building an army out there. Not just a human army. A galactic army. Hana nodded. The Council never expected this. They kept their slave species separate, isolated, afraid. They never imagined someone would unite them. They never imagined humans. Yunho said that in the Hall of Voices. The Council members argued and blamed each other. Their perfect record of conquest was crumbling. Species they had ruled for thousands of years were rising up. And at the center of it all were the humans, those primitive creatures from a backwater planet who should have been extinct by now. Krell of the Vormak slammed his fist on the table. "Send every ship we have to Varus Prime. We will make our stand there. We will crush these humans and their rabble army." "And if we lose?" another representative asked. Krell's 4 eyes narrowed. "We will not lose. We cannot lose. If the humans win, everything we have built for 10,000 years will be destroyed." He was right about that, at least. Far across the galaxy, Commander Taeyan looked at a holographic map showing the Varus system. The Council was gathering its forces there. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon they had left. "They know we are coming," Intelligence Officer Sujin said. "They are preparing everything." Taeyeon nodded slowly. "Good. I want them all in one place. When we destroy their fleet at Virus Prime, the war is over. No more hunting them down system by system. One battle to decide everything. It is risky. Everything about this war has been risky." Taeyeon looked at his crew, at the humans and former slaves who had followed him across the stars. "But we did not come this far to lose. We came to win. We came to make the galaxy safe for our children and their children after them." He turned back to the map. "Set course for Varus Prime. It is time to end this." The Varus system had never seen so many ships. The Council fleet numbered over 5,000 vessels. They had called back every ship from every corner of their empire. Massive dreadnoughts floated beside quick destroyers. Troop carriers held millions of soldiers ready to fight. They had enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds. Against them came the human fleet and their allies. 3,000 ships in total, many of them old and patched together. Former slave species flew beside human pilots. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting far from home. But they were not afraid. Commander Taeyeon stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Through the viewscreen, he could see the enemy armada spread across space like a wall of metal. "Enemy ships detected," Navigator Boyoung reported. 5,412 vessels. Understood. Taeyeon's voice was calm. "Open a channel to all ships." The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Taeyeon took a breath. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Every battle, every sacrifice, every life lost. It all came down to this. This is Commander Taeyeon to all allied forces. We came here today for one reason, to end this war. The Council has oppressed the galaxy for 10,000 years. They have destroyed species, enslaved billions, and ruled through fear. Today, that ends. He looked at the enemy fleet on the screen. They are stronger than us. They have more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. But we have something they do not have. We have each other. We have purpose. We have the will to be free. Across the fleet, humans and former slaves listened. Some were veterans of many battles. Others had never fired a weapon before last month. All of them felt something stir in their hearts. The galaxy is watching us right now. Slave worlds across the stars are waiting to see what happens here. If we lose, they lose all hope. But if we win, everything changes. Every species the Council has crushed will rise up. Every chain will break. The age of tyrants will end, and a new age will begin. Taeyeon drew his sword, an old tradition he had brought back from Earth. The blade caught the light of distant stars. For Earth, for all the species who stand with us. For the future, attack. The battle began. Pilot Jisoo pushed her fighter to maximum speed as she flew into the enemy formation. Her call sign was Phoenix, earned after being shot down twice and coming back each time. Today, she planned to earn it again. "Phoenix Squadron on me," she called to her team. "Target their carrier shields. Ground forces cannot land until those ships are down." Her squadron followed her into the chaos. Laser fire streaked past them. Ships exploded on all sides. It was like flying through a storm of light and death. Jisoo locked onto an enemy carrier and fired. Her missiles struck the shield generator, causing it to flicker and die. A second later, her wingmen finished the job. The carrier's hull ruptured, and atmosphere vented into space. "One down," Jisoo said. "About 50 more to go." On the planet below, General Sunwoo led the ground assault on the Council's headquarters. His army was a mix of human marines and former slave soldiers. They had trained together for weeks, learning to fight as one unit. Landing in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Sun Wu checked his weapon one more time. Outside the dropship windows, he could see the council capital, a massive city of towers and domes. Somewhere in there, the leaders who had voted to destroy Earth were hiding. "Remember the plan," he told his soldiers. "We take the council chamber. We capture the leaders. The more we take alive, the faster this war ends. But if they resist, do not hesitate. They showed no mercy to the 19 species they destroyed. They deserve none from us." The dropships landed hard, throwing up clouds of dust. Doors opened, and soldiers poured out into the alien streets. The fighting was brutal. Council guards defended every building, every corner, every meter of ground. They knew what would happen if they lost. Their entire way of life would end. But they had never fought an army like this. Sun Wu led from the front, as he always did. He moved through the streets with deadly precision, clearing rooms and neutralizing threats. Beside him, soldiers from 6 different species fought with the same purpose. A Vormuk warrior charged at him, sword raised. Sun Wu dodged the blow and struck back. The alien fell, and Sun Wu kept moving. There was no time to stop. The council chamber was just ahead, in space. The battle reached its peak. Ships on both sides were dying by the hundreds. The council had more vessels, but the Allied fleet fought with desperate courage. The Indomitable took heavy damage as it pushed through the enemy line. Fire burned on 3 decks. Half the crew was wounded. But Commander Taeyan refused to retreat. "Target their flagship," he ordered. "If we destroy their command ship, their fleet will lose coordination." "Sir, our forward shields are gone," the tactical officer reported. "One more hit and we are finished." Taeyan looked at the enemy flagship on the screen. It was huge, the largest ship in the council fleet. Ambassador Krell himself was aboard, commanding the defense. "Then we better not miss." Taeyan gripped the arms of his command chair. All weapons fire. The Indomitable unleashed everything it had. Missiles, energy beams, gravitational pulses. Everything hit the enemy flagship at once. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the flagship's shields collapsed. Then its engines exploded. Then the whole ship broke apart in a massive fireball that lit up the sky. Across the council fleet, commanders watched in horror as their flagship died. Their leader was gone. Their strategy was ruined. Panic spread from ship to ship. "They are breaking formation," Ouyang reported, her voice full of disbelief. "They are retreating." The Allied fleet pressed forward. Damaged ships that should have fallen back instead charged at the enemy. Former slaves who had spent their whole lives being told they were worthless showed the galaxy what they could do. The council fleet shattered. On the ground, General Sun Wu kicked open the doors to the council chamber. Inside, the representatives of the 12 species sat frozen in their seats. Guards lay defeated on the floor. The war was over. Sun Wu stepped aside as Commander Taeyan walked into the room. He was wounded, blood running down his face from a cut on his forehead. But he stood tall, and his eyes burned with cold fire. The Supreme Chancellor of the Council rose from his seat. He was an old Vormuk, his scales faded with age. "You cannot do this," he said. "We are the Council. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. You are nothing. You are animals from a forgotten planet." Taeyan walked forward until he stood face to face with the Chancellor. "Animals do not build starships. Animals do not cross the galaxy to face their enemies. Animals do not free the enslaved and give hope to the hopeless." He leaned closer. "We are not animals. We are humans. And you made a terrible mistake when you voted to attack our world." The Chancellor's 4 eyes widened with fear. For the first time in his long life, He understood what it felt like to be powerless. "What will you do to us?" he whispered. Taeon looked around the room at the representatives who had decided Earth should die. Then he looked back at the Chancellor. "We will do something you never did for the species you destroyed. We will give you a choice. Join the new galaxy as equals, or spend the rest of your lives in prison. Choose." The Chancellor stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. "We choose to live." Outside, the guns fell silent. The Battle of Varus Prime was over. Humanity had won, but the real work was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Varus Prime. Ambassador Yunji stood at the window of her office, looking out at the great assembly hall below. Hundreds of representatives from dozens of species filled the seats. They were arguing, debating, sometimes shouting at each other. It was beautiful. "They are fighting again," said her assistant, a young Salvani named Vera. "The trade agreement discussion has been going on for 3 hours. Yunji smiled. "Let them fight. Better to fight with words than with weapons. That is what democracy looks like." She remembered a time, not so long ago, when those species could not even speak to each other. The old council had kept them separated, afraid, alone. Now they sat in the same room, free to disagree, free to argue, free to make their own choices. The new Galactic Assembly was not perfect. It was messy and slow, and sometimes frustrating. But it was fair. Every species had a voice, from the oldest empire to the newest member. Decisions were made together, not by a hand. Full of powerful rulers, the old council species had been given a choice after the war. They could join the assembly as equal members, giving up their special powers and privileges. Or they could go their own way, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Most had chosen to join. It was not easy for them. After 10,000 years of ruling, they had to learn how to cooperate. Some did better than others. But slowly, generation by generation, the galaxy was healing. On Earth, the healing was harder. Sergeant Junho walked through the memorial park that had once been downtown Bizen. White stone pillars stretched as far as he could see, each one carved with names. His wife's name was on pillar 7043. His daughter's name was right below it. He came here every week. Some days he talked to them, telling them about his life, about the world they had left behind. Other days he just stood in silence, letting the wind carry his grief away. Today, a young woman approached him. She wore military uniform with the patch of the United Earth Defense Fleet. "Sergeant Junho?" she asked. He turned. "Yes, I am Cadet Nari. I was assigned to find you." She looked nervous. "They want you at the Memorial Day ceremony. You are being honored." Junho shook his head. "I do not need honors. I just did what anyone would do." "With respect, sir, that is not true." Nari's voice was soft but firm. "My grandmother was in the shelter you defended in Bizan. You and your squad saved 400 people that day. I exist because of you." Junho looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked back at the pillars of names. "I could not save everyone," he said quietly. "No one could. But you saved who you could. That matters." He stood in silence. The wind moved through the memorial, carrying the scent of flowers. Somewhere in the distance, children were playing. "All right," he said finally. "I will come to the ceremony." Far away, in a laboratory on the moon, Dr. Minji was teaching a class of young scientists. Half of them were human. The other half were from species that had been slaves 5 years ago. "The gravitational pulse technology you studied this week was developed under extreme time pressure," she explained. "We had months to do work that should have taken decades. Many shortcuts were taken. Many mistakes were made." She pulled up a diagram on the screen. "Your job is not to repeat what we did. Your job is to do it better, safer, more efficient. The weapons we built saved Earth, but they were just the beginning. Imagine what we could do if we used the same principles for peaceful purposes. Ships that can travel faster than light. Construction tools that can build cities in weeks. Medical devices that can heal wounds instantly. A young human student raised her hand. "Professor, why did you choose to teach instead of continuing your weapons research? You could have built things that would make you famous." Minji smiled sadly. "I built weapons because I had to, because the alternative was extinction. But I never wanted to be famous for making things that kill. I want to be remembered for what comes next, for the good we can create now that the war is over." She looked at her students, human and alien together. "That is your future. Not war, not fear, discovery, creation, hope." In Seoul, Admiral Yunho sat on a bench in his garden, watching the sunset. He was old now, his hair white and his hands worn from decades of service. Beside him sat his granddaughter, a small girl of 7 years. "Grandfather, why did the aliens attack us?" she asked. Yunho thought about the question. It was simple, but the answer was not. "They were afraid of us," he said finally. "They looked at humanity and saw something dangerous, something they could not control. So they decided to destroy us before we could become a threat. But we were not going to hurt them. No, we were not. But fear does not always see the truth. It sees what it wants to see." The little girl was quiet for a moment. "Are they still afraid of us?" Yunho looked up at the sky. The first stars were appearing, diamonds scattered across the darkening blue. Somewhere out there, in the great emptiness of space, the galaxy was watching. "Some of them are," he said, "and perhaps they should be. Not because we want to hurt them, but because they have learned that we will defend ourselves. We will protect our people. We will never surrender." "Is that why they call it the human warning?" Yunho smiled. "Who told you about that?" "My teacher. She said all the aliens know about it now. She said they tell stories about what happens when someone attacks Earth." The old admiral nodded slowly. "Yes, they do. And maybe that is a good thing. Maybe if enough people remember what happened here, no one will ever try it again." A sun slipped below the horizon. Night came to Earth, soft and peaceful. "Grandfather?" "Yes?" "I am glad we are not afraid anymore." Yunho put his arm around his granddaughter. "So am I, little one. So am I." Across the galaxy, in places humanity had never seen and might never see, the story spread. It passed from world to world, from generation to generation. The tale of a small blue planet on the edge of the stars, a planet that had been sentenced to death by the mightiest empire in the galaxy. A planet that had refused to die. They called it the human warning. Parents told it to their children. Tyrants heard it and hesitated. The weak and the oppressed whispered it to each other in the darkness, and it gave them courage. The warning was simple, but it was enough. Do not mistake human kindness for weakness. Do not mistake human chaos for vulnerability. Do not mistake human mercy for fear. Humanity will laugh with you, trade with you, learn from you, and teach you. They will be your friends, your partners, your allies. But if you threaten their home, if you harm their families, if you try to break their spirit, you will learn a terrible truth. The humans do not know how to surrender, and they will follow you to the ends of the universe to make sure you never threaten anyone again." That was the human warning, and the galaxy never forgot it